The Tank King is back. Trickster, Ephemeral Edge. So some quick build ratings overview on a low budget. So this is like less than 20 divs. You really shouldn't start this build probably without like 10 divs. If your game knowledge is lower, then maybe bump that up to like 50. This build is not super good on a low budget. The damage, only like a 5 out of 10 when you first start out. You'll have like 1 or 2 million depending on how good your gear is. In softcore you can stretch it out a lot faster and more damage than I have, but I was in hardcore and I've been playing pretty slow. I'm just kind of taking my time this league. Clear speed 7 out of 10. It's pretty good, but it's nothing crazy. Tank 10 out of 10. Obviously the Tank King. So this build revolves around obviously the Ephemeral Edge unique, which grants lightning damage equal up to 15% of the player's max energy shield. Last league is 20%, so it is nerfed by 25% damage this league, but the damage loss is way overcompensated by mercs, which are a crazy DPS multiplier. The build's an all-rounder, and it can do all content. The Ascendancy chosen is Trickster, since it has energy shield synergies out the wazoo. It's just energy shield god. On the Ascendancy tree, like energy shield leech effects are not removed when energy shield is filled, kind of like Slayer with life leech. Essentially means the build is perma like 4 to 6k regen depending on your setup. And then Spellbreaker provides a good chunk of suppression and 50% chance for recharge when you suppress spell damage, which paired with Wicked Ward is an incredibly strong boss defense for a ton of energy shield recharge. Really just the ultimate all-rounder Ascendancy. And the other nodes on the build are extremely flexible considering what you want to do. One step ahead is good for never getting slowed or frozen. Swift Killer is good damage and charge time QL for mapping. Polymath is decent DPS and some extra recovery in a way when you kill. And then Heartstopper is useless. You can really switch around the Ascendancy nodes to what you want to do at the moment. Some important mechanics to make sure you don't miss. Precise technique in this build is just a free 40% more damage. Ghost Dance is a big defense boost. If you are a leech version, you will take Ghost Reaver for doubling your leech. If not the leech version, then you'll go Wicked Ward. Chaos Inoculation is obvious, but maybe a new player would miss it. Not that I really recommend this build for new players. If you're not super comfortable with the game, you don't really know what's going on, I'd say go Smite Slayer. It's just more straightforward. To sustain a Tincture, you're going to want a Cluster Jewel. It's Fuel to Fight for the Mana Leech. With Shav's Revelation Ring, it's pretty okay too, but ideally you get both. You should aim for Veteran Defender on every Cluster Jewel, pretty much as well that you can. Also make sure your Fizz taken as Eldritch and Blizzards are chaos damage, as you are immune to it on this build because of CI. Now, why not Lightning Strike? Well, this league, its projectile damage got nerfed by 50%. Now, it's probably still playable on a high budget, but definitely rough early on, considering this build is already a little on the weaker side early on in terms of damage. So instead, we switch some passive nodes and gems around to turn the build into Smite. Why Smite? Smite is actually a very similar skill to Lightning Strike in the way it functions. First, it has good clear and hits everything on the screens, similar to Lightning Strike. Second, it has a double hit mechanic for single target. When you stand a certain distance away, your initial strike hits and the Lightning Strike also hits for area damage for 2 total hits, similar to Lightning Strike. Or, sorry, the Smite hits for 2 times, not Lightning Strike. It's a Smite build. So specifically we use Smite of Judgment, which has better clear capability than normal Smite, but a bit lower DPS. If you don't have Vol Smite on your Smite of Judgment, you can just use a normal Vol Smite in some other socket and just use that as normal. Then another skill incorporated into the build to help single target a lot is General's Cry Blade Flurry, which also got buffed this league. You might have seen Jung's video on this from League Start. Similar concept. For the single target rotation, you want to make sure the Merc is close to the enemy, so Doriani's applies with your Merc. I'll get to the whole Merc setup in a minute. Then you'll curse them, desecrate for blade flurry, which triggers your general's cry, Vol Smite, pop your tincture, and then make sure you stand the correct distance from the enemy to get 2 hits with Smite. It sounds like a lot, but I mean, it's kind of just a normal build. It's just, you'll get used to it, and you just pop everything, and then you hit them. So the Merc setup, I'm using a Kineticist with haste. It's very nice for map clear. I don't know which one would be better for bossing, maybe like a War Priest or something for the Smite buff, since you don't actually get the Smite buff from Smite of Divine Judgment. Not sure if you guys know which one would be good. Go ahead and comment. I've kind of not really clicked many Mercs because every time I have, I die. So I stopped. And then the gear you'll use in it, the biggest one is Doriani's Prototype. Not required, but huge damage multiplier. Asenath's Gentle Touch for map clear is really nice. It gives you some explosions. Calm's Binding Belt, very nice for the extra fizz reduction because it converts nearby fizz to fire, which is a big defense. Then you're gonna get 2 negative lightning res rings with Perkle's Toe. You can possibly drop Perkle's Toe if you need a 3rd minus lightning res jewelry, but then you'll have to use Voice of the Storm as your amulet instead of Whispering Sea or whatever it's called, the new thing. So you'll use 2 minus lightning res rings to get your Merc to negative 200 lightning res, and then Perkle's Toe you'll anoint with Whispers of Doom so you can have the extra curse. Then for boots, Legacy of Fury, it's the Maven boots. Get some Scorch, extra damage. Wand, Eclipse Solaris. It's not great, but it blinds things, and that's pretty good for your evasion. It is evasion-based build. Replica Victario's Charity gives you endurance charges, and Frenzies are nice. Uptime QL too. Now, it's not ideal because it gives you lightning res, so you'll have to make up with that with better minus lightning res rings. You'll have to get 2 high roll ones to get to negative 200, and then you're going to want to make sure there's no lightning res on any of your other gear. If you swap, you can pretty much swap anything out for your needs here. Also, it's flexible other than the Doriani's. Helmet is Leer Cast. If you're too poor for Doriani, I was just using a random rare chest. You can also use a curse on hit ring if you're not using Doriani's. Other good uniques that are in the build but not required are Light of Meaning with Energy Shield, Watcher's Eye with percent mana as Energy Shield. If you're not using Perkles, then Voice of the Storm, Chevron's Revelation. How to color the chest piece. So the colors of the chest piece is 4 red and 2 blue. How you're going to do this is with the jeweler trick. So first you craft 3 sockets on your chest, and you're going to want to make sure your chest is already crafted before you do this, because you craft pretty much every item in the build with recombinators. You can do dense fossils as well, but pretty much your starter set will be recombinators, and then eventually you can get like a good fractured thing and spam a million dense fossils. So you take your chest and you put 3 sockets on it. Then you do the 3 red socket craft, and then you jeweler trick the 4th red. And what this is you go between 3 and 4 sockets over and over again on your crafting bench until you hit a 4th red socket, and then you craft the last 2 in a similar fashion. Hope you get blue, because the last 2 are blue, and then you just do that until you get your colors. Leveling this build, you just start as either Power Siphon or Explosive Concoction. Either option's good, but I feel like Explosive Concoction is the smoother option now. Power Siphon, you have to swap out your wand for upgrades every now and then to make it smooth, or just have a higher level Merc to carry you. So if you do want to make this build from like scratch and you don't have any currency yet, go Power Siphon. It'll last further into maps. Then make sure you check the notes section in the POB, and I included leveling trees and whatnot.